What is up, everybody? I am Ryan Thomas, host of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Thank you guys for joining me tonight at the live edition, starting now at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, coming to you live from Buffalo, New York. I'm Ryan Thomas, host of the Thomas Take, and over the course of the podcast's history, you could say, which I started this in January of 2016, about 10 months ago, almost 10 months ago now, I came up with an idea as recently as a few weeks ago for the listeners of the podcast to submit fan questions, questions pertaining to sports. You know, what do I think about this? What do I think about that? And the submitted question that I am choosing was written from Jake from Baltimore, Maryland. He wrote in an email to me, who do I think would win in a fight between Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson? And this was the question that I chose to discuss on tonight's show, on tonight's episode of the Thomas Take. And I'm very excited to delve into who I think would win this fight. And this fight has been talked about. You know, it's an age-old boxing debate. Who would win in a fight between two of the greatest heavyweights of all time, Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali? And I've had conflicting, opinions on this question. But lately, I've kind of put that to bed over the course of the last, let's just say probably a year or so. So Muhammad Ali, obviously, world heavyweight champion. Mike Tyson, world heavyweight champion. Both donned the belts that made them two of the most iconic fighters in boxing history. And Mike Tyson won the belt at 19. Muhammad Ali, I believe, won the belt at 21. So both were very young when they won the title. And Mike Tyson competed from 1985 to 2005. Muhammad Ali competed from, the late 50s to the mid-80s. So both fighters have longevity, over the course of their career. And obviously Muhammad Ali is referred to as the greatest. With all due respect, he is known as the greatest fighter, the greatest boxer in history. Not so much what he did in the boxing ring, but what he was able to accomplish outside the boxing ring, what he did for the Muslim religion, what he did for the Muslim people, what he did for all people. As time has gone on, his legacy will live on more so. And he's one of those guys that will forever stand the test of time, along with Babe Ruth and Gordie Howe and guys like that of their respective sports. Muhammad Ali is the most recognizable name, when really that wasn't even his name that he was born with in the first place, due to his conversion to the Muslim religion. He was originally born as Cassius Clay, which I think is like the coolest name ever. Not only did he achieve greatness in the ring, but he had a legacy behind two of the coolest names I've ever heard. Ali won the title at 22. Tyson won the title at 19. And really, both of these guys had points in their career where their prime was completely taken from them. Where Ali's was volunteering to not go to the Vietnam War, spending a few years in prison because of the fact, and then Mike Tyson with his rape charges, spending 3-4 years in prison for a rape, for being the main suspect in a rape trial, which I still believe to this day that he did not do. That's another debate. But who would win in a fight between these two fighters? Ali obviously has the reach advantage. Tyson obviously has the power advantage. Ali has the speed advantage. Tyson has the strength advantage. So it's kind of tit for tat, the tail of the tape, would be an interesting tale of the tape indeed if both of these guys were to sign on to fight each other, if that was possible. But they both achieved greatness at different points in boxing's history, and obviously that fight was never going to happen because just as Muhammad Ali was way past his prime in his last fight with Larry Holmes, Mike Tyson came up through the scene 1986, winning the title in 1986. So two completely opposite eras, but obviously two of the best heavyweights ever. So my thing is, over the course of me debating with myself as to who would win this fight, knowing that Ali has the speed advantage, that is an advantage that is a big key in the fight. But if you take both of these fighters in their prime and you put Mike Tyson in a ring with anyone in their prime, we're talking in their prime, Mike Tyson was a devastating puncher, and he knew how to put guys out very quickly. He would kind of fight in that Philly shell type style where he would try to get inside and land big uppercuts, big hooks. Even the straight shots that he would throw were extremely hard. A punch that would normally be, a jab for one fighter would rock, a fighter if it was thrown from Tyson or landed by Tyson. And that I do have a tough time picking against Ali. I don't think that Ali would be able to weather that storm that Tyson would bring on initially. And I think that if Ali were to weather the initial storm within the first, second, third, maybe even fourth round from Mike Tyson, then he would be able to make the fight a longer fight. Kind of make Tyson tired. Rope-a-dope, the technique that Ali used in the fight with Joe Frazier a little bit and George Foreman especially, that technique would not work with Mike Tyson because he punches way too hard. If he tried to rope-a-dope in the first couple rounds, Ali, I feel, would be knocked out. And this is an age-old question. I do feel, kind of disrespectful saying that about Ali because he was so great and he was such an awesome humanitarian and he did so much for the world. But just in terms of the boxing question that Jake from Baltimore asked me on the ThomasTake92@gmail.com email, fan email questions, which you guys can email me questions too. That's one of the things I really enjoy about this podcast is the reactions that I get. So the email is ThomasTake92@gmail.com. Back to the subject matter. I do think Tyson would win the fight. I think he would win the fight maybe in the fourth or fifth round. If Ali was able to weather the storm within those first 5 rounds, I would lean towards Ali, but I'd still probably pick Tyson if the fight were to go the distance, which would have been a 15-round fight at that heavyweight point in time in that era. I think Tyson would have won a decision, especially if he would have had more knockdowns, where Ali did have power, but it was more so due to the fact that he would knock a guy out late in the fight as the years went on. In his prime, he would kind of make guys miss and then hit him with a stinging shot. Obviously, the saying goes, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, and Mike Tyson was more of a bull in a china shop. That was kind of his style. So I would say Mike Tyson would beat Muhammad Ali if both fighters would face one another in their prime. I think Mike Tyson would win that fight. Mike Tyson, too, a lot of people make fun of him because of the way he talks and the memes and stuff today and all sorts of stuff and the face tattoo. But he's actually a very intelligent guy, and he had a lot of things taken from him that were really out of his control. He was taken advantage of by the business side of boxing, by the Don Kings of the world, by the financial advisors that he thought were his friends. Those people took money from him, and he went into jail with hundreds of millions of dollars, left jail with practically nothing, and he obviously didn't want to go back into the sport of boxing, but it was the only way for him to make money at the time, so he did, and he was literally a shell of himself. Mike Tyson, I think, in my eyes, and in my opinion, is the greatest what-if story in professional sports, because he was a Goliath of a figure, an icon, a guy that was on the ESPN fight night scene, knocking guys out left and right. Everyone wanted to watch Tyson fight because they knew he was going to knock the guy, KTFO, knock the F out. That guy was going to go out. So people wanted to watch him fight, and I feel like being the phenom that he was, having Cus D'Amato in his corner for a while until Cus's death, I feel like that changed the direction of Mike Tyson's life. More leeches piled on, and Mike Tyson's a great what-if story. Even though I still consider him to be one of the greatest heavyweights ever, he is the greatest what-if story in all of sports. I've always thought that, and I always will. So Jake from Baltimore, thank you for submitting the fan question. I'm going to pick the fan questions that I get from now, and this is going to be an obvious, from now on, and this is going to be an obvious segment from now on the Thomas Take Sports podcast. So Ali versus Tyson, I think Tyson would win it. I'm going to go 4th or 5th round. Question number 2 that I picked, and this is a segue to the next segment on the Thomas Take, which will be airing right after this one's over. Should the Dallas Cowboys go back to Tony Romo? They've been on such a roll with Dak Prescott. Should they go back to Tony Romo once Tony Romo is healthy? Obviously, Tony Romo did practice today. And next week they play Cleveland. This week they play Philly. So will Tony Romo come back? Should they bring back Tony Romo? Should they put him in as the starting quarterback? Or should they roll on with Dak Prescott? My thoughts on the number 2 question, written by Matt from San Antonio, Texas. I'm getting questions from Texas, from Maryland. It's pretty cool. So the power of social media is for real. So thank you guys for submitting fan questions. Also, stay tuned for the next segment of the Thomas Take. We'll be right back.